Hey, and welcome back to another Deadzone paint tutorial. I am working on a GCPS Ranger today. Mantic Vault dropped a number of bits that allow for a great number of options with the GCPS troops, so I thought I'd take advantage of it and paint one up today. He's got a Zenithal Prime on him, and I'm starting out with a base coat of Payne's Gray. Typically, I would airbrush this, but I know there's an internet mythos about not everybody having an airbrush and it leading to some people being frustrated. And I always say you can get the same result with a brush. So I'm going to do this guy completely with a brush, and then at the end of the video we'll see him next to some of the others that I airbrushed earlier, and you can decide for yourself if it works. With our base coat done, we're going to follow up with a dry brush of dark gray blue. We're going to apply this basically as our initial highlight. We want to make sure that we're hitting the areas that light's going to hit on the model, and just lighten up that suit so that it reads a not completely just black blob. Next up, we switch over to dark warm gray. We're going to use this to hit all the fabric bits of his kit, so his boots, his arm covers, some of the stuff on his belt, his backpack, but not his shoulder pads and weapons. We're going to use the neutral gray range for that. Speaking of that neutral gray range, we're going to switch over to dark neutral gray. We're going to use this to apply the base coat to his rifle, the back shadowed portion of his shoulder pads, and any other metallic bits that we find on the kit that the guy is wearing. Now we're going to bounce it over to warm gray. We're going to use this to highlight any of the portions of the fabric boots areas that we did with the dark warm gray previously. This will act as our first stage highlight. And coming up here we'll wash it down, so let's keep going. Now we're over to neutral gray, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight all the metallic bits with this to create two different gray tones on the model so that the materials at least read differently as we get to the end of painting it up. Alright, our guy's going to need a face, so I'm going to use advanced flesh tone and get that based out. Face in place, let's get that beard with some burnt sienna, and we'll take it up and make sure we get any locks of hair that are sticking out from the sideburns or back under his bandana as well. So with all of our base tones laid down, I'm going to use the Pro Acryl Black Wash, and I'm going to cover the entire model in it. Now with the Pro Acryl stuff, it goes on a little different than like Army Painter Wash. So what I do is a 1-to-1 mix with water just to thin it down a bit, but it's going to go kind of runny and all over the place. Capillary action is really going to pull into the recesses. It will filter your colors down, but not as extensively as some other washes. So it's really important if you're using this brand just to kind of experiment with it a little before you use it. I actually recently watched a video from Monument Hobbies where Jay, the guy that owns the place, was going through how to use it, and it was really informative. I didn't realize how much you could thin these to actually get them to do what you want them to do. I'm going to go ahead and paint my eyes now. I'm going to put a dab of black in there, and then I'm going to follow it with a dab of white, and then another little dab of black, and then a little more white to clean it all up. Just thinned paints and #1 fine point brush and some patience. And remember that you can clean up because we haven't done any highlights with our flesh yet. We've just put the wash down. So anything that we're going to do now is going to be the highlight stage. So if you go outside your line, you can just clean it up and move on like nothing happened. I know eyes are a touchy subject for a lot of people, so I'm going to leave this whole section in and just speed up the footage so that you can see the entire process. This section kind of turns into the face highlight too, so I'm just kind of let it all run together here. But you can see once you, because we washed the original skin tone down, the original color we use is going to work just fine for a highlight. So the base tone is going to be that washed down version of it. The shadows are going to be the wash and its effect on the face, and then our highlight will be the original color, pure straight. We go in to clean up the eyes and bridges of the nose and lips and whatnot. So it works really effectively, especially if you're trying to get an army on the table quick. Since we wrapped up the face, we're going to go straight into the beard with our burnt sienna again, just to highlight back up some of the exposed strands of the beard and to give it a little more depth to it. And we're going to run this process through the entire rest of the model, building our highlights back up with the original colors we used. Here we're back to the dark gray blue. We're going to use that to highlight the edges of the bodysuit, and we're going to use a finer brush this time because the highlights that we initially did before washing it are still intact. So we just want to do a harder edge highlight with the second time around and in a smaller area so we still keep that original work that we did. Now back to the neutral gray, same deal. We're hitting the edges of the armor plates, the weapon, and any of the metallic bits of his kit. And now for the more cloth-based portions of his kit with the warm gray. I didn't do much speed paint with this model at all. It was all basically acrylics, but I have a crutch for my bases using speed paint, so I'm using Runic Gray and Ruddy Fur to blend up the base. Ruddy Fur for the dirty and metallic girder portion of it, and then Runic Gray for the pavement sections. It's okay if they're a little wet and blend together. It just makes it look kind of, you know, run down and dilapidated. Just a couple of finishing touches here. I'm going to use copper to pick out the shell casings on the base, and then I will stipple on a little bit of orange oxide to apply basically a rust effect to the little girder sticking out of the ground. Well, here we are. We've reached the end. This was a pretty quick and easy paint job, but I'm really happy of how the result turned out. We're going to rim that base. My preference is black. Your preference, as always, may vary. I'd like to take the time to thank you for sitting through this and watching it with me. I hope you found something of value or use in it. I hope it entertained you. If you would, please do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, which like 95% of the people that watch any of these videos haven't, I would really appreciate that too. Here we go. We'll take it into the final reveal.